Hello everybody, today I have the pleasure to propose to you this key 37 entitled Enlarging Your Perspective. Okay, so as usual, we're gonna try to define through 4 steps. The first one is to define the concepts of enlarging your perspective. Then secondly, the reason for being of enlarging your perspective, that's to say the field of application. Third, we'll see 10 different techniques, and we will finish with some advice. All right, so first of all, before starting, I would like just for you to focus and to take a certain distance regarding this flow, the common thread of the different videos. Why? Because there is a common thread. All of them can be watched independently, but also there is a holistic dimension, there is a global overall perspective, okay? The first 20 keys were with a certain common thread, and the second part, the second season from 21st to 40, same, have a certain common thread. So here, enlarging the perspective, 35 was the parameter, reparameter your mind, your way of thinking, and so on. Secondly, 36 was the visualization, the co-creation. Now, enlarging the perspective. The following video will be intuition and creativity also in this perspective. All right, so what is it concretely, enlarging your perspective? Concretely, this is simple. This is based on the principle of thinking out of the box, okay? As Einstein say, you cannot solve the problems with the same mind which created it, okay? So what does it mean? It means that literally you have a box on which you have some problems and you need literally to think out of the box. This is the principle. Okay, so this is an invitation, individual invitation and a collective invitation to unveil, okay, the mayas. Unveil, what does it mean? Literally, to take out the veil of illusion, okay? The veil of, for example, what we saw in the previous videos of the introspection. Introspection, what is it? Concretely, is the fact to inner gazing, to analyze why you are reacting, behaving, thinking from a way from another. Okay, so due to the different, you have been shaped through like the wind and the sun and the sea regarding the rocks on the coast, for example. It's the same for our personality. Personality, I repeat voluntarily myself, R means literally the mask. So these are the different layers that we have according to our education, okay, our culture, religion, society in general, okay. You were born in Mexico, you were born in Iran, you were born in Australia, you were born in Sweden, or in Lesotho, or in Algeria, and so on. Okay, this is different, okay. You can have also, so this is the close and far environments, okay, media, let's say the media in general, the society where you were born, your education, your parents, and so on. Even if you have the same education, the different characters, your brother, and so on, even if you have a twin brother, a twin sister, the results will be probably different. Okay, so analyzing that, okay, so to enlarge your perspective, so unveil this, okay, individually and collectively for inner gazing, okay, inner introspection, and also to do the same with the society in general. This is really important work. Actually, this concept of enlarging your perspective is linked to the notion of a word that few people know, which is aporia. Aporia, okay, aporia, it's Greek initially, it has been taken by Latin. What does it mean? A means the negative, okay? Aporia means, poria means the passage, the pathway, the gate, okay? Concretely, it means there is no passage, there is no gateway. It means that you have hardship, you have an obstacle, and you don't cope with the problem. You just stay like this because you are scared. Okay, aporia is linked to, let's say, an unknown situation that you don't have the solution presently, and you are scared and you are blocked. This is the point. And you don't handle anything to save the problem. Okay, so this is the counter example of this are the pioneers. Okay, those who went to new worlds, okay, or in the space and so on, are pioneers. They didn't know what they will find. Okay, Columbus thought he will find India. Oh yeah, there is a few islands that we call Americas. You see what I mean? So it's exactly that. And most of the time we don't change, we don't do something because, okay, I don't want to break up with this person because I don't know what I could find. That may be better, and not necessarily worse. Huh? It can be better. Same for a job, same for everything, okay? I don't recommend necessarily to quit. It's not that. It's just if the situation is heavy, is difficult, you think that you didn't, and you did everything, you had some corrective actions and so on, you did everything, it doesn't work, maybe it's better to change. I mean, to leave or to let's say, to start something new. All right, so actually, you know, it's like the fact to, the unconscious part send you some messages, and the archetype of the dream of, let's say, taking your exam that you have, for example, personally, my A level, I was 18 years old, okay, for this last 20 years, every month, okay, monthly, I had the same dream of the fact to take it back, okay? And it's difficult because it was scientists, and I have 3 days to revise mathematics, physics, and so on. I have no clue, no idea, so I say, okay, biology, why not? I could find something back, like remembrance, philosophy, okay, I can catch back history, I still have a certain culture, so I could manage, okay, but it's gonna be challenging. Concretely, what does it mean? Your unconscious, okay, wants to send the signal saying, hey, warning, okay, you have difficulty now, hardship now, it's difficult situation presently, okay, you cope with worse in the past, so it's gonna be all right, okay? This is the message, okay? So concretely, this notion is linked to the notion that concretely the brain is lazy. Most of the time we use, 95% of the case, we always use as a routine the same pattern of thinking, behaving, and so on. It's like automatic pilots, okay? So, and the fact to be always on the same, you are in the field and you are always passing through the same way, okay? You're gonna create a way, a pathway, okay? Because of your feet. It's the same principle. And the same principle with your neurons, the links that you establish in your brain. This is, by the way, what we call neuroplasticity. It means this is stretch, actually. Your brain is stretched, it's not fixed, it's absolutely not fixed. If you handle another way and you pass through it regularly, you will create this new connection and these new habits. That's the point. So first, we most of the time are in a certain routine of patterns of thinking, behaving, first. Secondly, we just explore something like 5–10%. We commonly say that we have no way to, let's say, to double check this. So 5% is, let's say, the concept is that's like the visible part of the iceberg and the invisible part of the iceberg. We don't use our full potential. We definitely, the examples from the past, the prophets and so on, this is the example, hey guys, you can do exactly what I did, okay? So it's not supposed to be a statue, it's supposed to be an example of you can do it, okay? If you explore maybe 90% of your capacity and you enlarge your perspective, that's to say your skills, your competencies, your way of thinking and so on, because everything is linked, okay? This is what we call epigenetics, referring to Bruce Lipton. What is it? It is the epigenetics is the fact to the fact to think affect your DNA, and the DNA affect your capacity of your body and so on. And it's not on the other way around. With thoughts during many decades, when I started to study biology, I've been taught in the sense that your DNA is fixed and that's it. Okay, you inherit from your parents, okay, like heritage, and okay, I have this disease and so on because of my family and so on. It can be true as a parameter, but you can change this parameter. If you reject, it's not so easy, it's not like this, it's in your unconscious part. Okay, so it's like a tattoo that you have from childhood, but you need to go under your epidermis, your skin. That's to say you need to reparameter, referring to the key 35, you need to change that. But indeed, when you change your way of thinking, your way of behaving, you will affect your DNA, which will reflect a good health and so on, more capacity and so on and so forth. Okay, so this is important to realize with real eyes, the real lies, and the lies are what? The fact that the world, we are like in a fortress to protect ourselves through the threat and so on. Okay, but also the walls exist because we gave them a reason for being. Okay, most of the time when we unveil, when we break the wall, okay, we realize that it was just within us, okay, and it was a fear not solved, a problem from the past, from trauma, for many, many reasons, but it just enlarged your field of consciousness, and you feel an horizon. You see further and further. That's the most important idea. So why was the reason, the field of application of enlarging your perspective? First is to enlarge your fields of consciousness. As Marcel Proust, the French writer, is say, the real voyage, the real travel, doesn't consist by going far, but to perceive life with new eyes. This is so true, okay? So this is so true. If you keep your routine and crossing the word, nothing will change, all right? It's the same principle. So to enlarge your field of consciousness, and also secondly, to enlarge your field of competencies, of skills, and so on. This is entangled and interconnected, of course, to be more well-rounded, more harmonious, to radiate, literally. And also to be more creative, intuitive, visionary as well, to have more perspective, to anticipate things, and so on. Well, the three most important, let's say, pillars of this topic is first to be open-minded, of course, to avoid the preconceived idea, I like, I don't like, I know, I already know, okay? Personally, I attend a lot of courses, whatever the topic, and especially, for example, meditation. I practice meditation. I teach meditation I practice for more than 20 years. I love attending to a class for beginners. Why? Because the way of teaching is systematically different, and it's always inspiring, and it's true for everything like this. So I know, as Aristotle say, all what I know is that I don't know, okay? So this is a humility to have, and also to realize that you can always enlarge your perspective. This is endless. This awakening process is absolutely endless. And sometimes you think that you did the rounds, or the cycle, and then you realize there is another perspective, so you can do the cycle, and you can do also like this, and this is an eternal sphere, and even entangled flower of life. So it is also fractal. So it's evolving at all the time. So this is important to realize that. To be, let's say, committed, implemented, and to be a good player in it, okay, fair play in a certain extent, a good mindset is important. also the fact that to realize that, as I said, 95% of the case we are in a process of routine, and to break this routine, we're gonna see some technique just after. Also to realize that, you know, the social medias, the tablets affect, this has been proved, and it's just the beginning of the disaster on our brain, okay? Because we don't stimulate as much. You know, it's like when you don't stimulate your body, referring to the key 26, actually you must completely die, or just they become like a statue. It's the same for your neurons. If you don't stimulate them, okay, you're gonna be a dummy, sorry to say that, but limited at least. And it has been proved that if you spend hours and hours with scrolling for, I'm not saying social media are bad, it's just like a knife. You can cut and to eat with it, or arts and craft and so on. But in parallel of that, according to the user and the using, you can kill people. The social media has a double face, okay? It's really important to have a self-control on the impact you have with them, and also your degree of dependence. Those who are spending 8-10 hours, and especially in a loop, or only gloomy things, violence and so on, it's affect definitely. Your mindset, the fact that you are lazy and so on and so forth. And for the kids, it has been proved that it's absolutely not good. They can play sometimes, that's a matter of fact, but they can go also to the garden. Oh, we don't have garden. You can go to the public park. You can go, it's for free, and so on and so forth. They can just play with, I don't know, some nature stuff, like doing huts, or I don't know, any types of natural games which stimulates the brain. This is important. So here are the techniques. The first one is to break the routine. So I can give you different tips. It's not obviously exhaustive, but for instance, to change a habit like your way to go to work or to go to a sport and so on. Okay, normally you go like this, but you will go like this. Maybe it's a little bit few more minutes, but it's not a big deal. Just to break this. And you realize that most of the time when you drive, you are not there. You are not completely in the mindfulness. You are just literally out. Okay, so this is one of a good one. The most important one for me is the fact to be either naturally your character is passive or your character is active. Do the reverse. Okay, if you are passive, try to be more active. If you are active, try to be more distant. Okay, in 1 day, 2 days, and so on. And in addition of that, the most important is to play the game of theater. Realize that life is like a piece of theater for which there are a lot of actors. You are actor and spectator at the same time. Okay, so, and you just analyze how people are behaving, acting, and so on in their role, their personality. Okay, the boss wants to show off, just to pretend because he has a problem of self-confidence. You just analyze like this. Or you have an attack from a colleague who is jealous, or she is jealous, and you can just be smarter. Okay, you feel angry and so on. Okay, you know, it's like martial art. You reuse the energy against the person, but nicely. Okay, but you know, we are collaborators. I would be pleased to be taught and to have your great experience. So for this project, we're gonna handle together. I'm very happy of that, and I'm sure it's gonna be really enriching. You know, this kind of thing like this, and people are like destabilized, and in a positive way. You know, it's non-violent fight in a certain extent, because it is another way, actually. So, but just to realize and to observe and to change your habits, to see how you handle differently your way of acting, actually. Though another technique is the fact, for example, if you are your right-hander or right hand or left hand, you do on the reverse side, okay? Brushing your teeth, whatever You can do something to remind you, but just to try to do a maximum of things normally with the opposite hand that you used to use. Okay, this is because it affects your hemispheres of your brain and it will activate differently. I invite you to wake up 30 minutes before, referring to the key 30, to change the morning, to have a happy morning with 10 minutes, let's say gymnastics, or let's say physical activity. Secondly, breathing. Thirdly, 10 minutes, and then 10 minutes meditating, okay, just for meditation. And then you will see how it changes yourself, okay? You can also try to go to bed 30 minutes before, 30 minutes later, but change your habit. If you take a shower in the morning or in the evening, change that as well. Try to do a maximum of things. Try to 15 minutes to be alone every day, okay? Just alone, okay? With yourself, not meditation, just alone with not doing anything, okay? Just to observe, to contemplate, to open up the inner temple, okay? This is important. Most of people are run away, okay? They flee themselves. They don't know themselves, okay? So this is important also in the notion of inner gazing. Of course, I invite you to give a call or to email former friends from childhood and so on. It will reactivate some perception that you had in the past, some memories and so on, and you will enlarge your perspective of what you were before. If you were, I don't know, practicing a sport and art and so on and so forth. Obviously, I invite you to put in practice all the tips, all the advice we saw together in your daily life, as long as it vibrates within you. Of course, it's supposed to enlarge your perspective, of course. Second advice is the fact to have new centers of interest. So it can be anything. It can be nature, botanic. It can be, I don't know, biology. It can be cosmos, astronomy. It can be cuisine, okay? Nutrition. Can be sport, a new sport. It can be history. It can be a period of time, a certain era, Egypt, Sumer, Inca, Maya, whatever, okay? It's just to enlarge your perspective. It can be sociology, economy, whatever, but or well-being or spirituality, but just to open up your mind. This is important. Also, to have new activities. This is really important as well to enlarge your perspective. So, cuisine, for example, even if you are a bad cooker, there is many tutos and so on, different easy recipe. At the beginning it would be difficult, but you will adjust and you will be a great chef probably, and you will enjoy that. You will be more focused on the mindfulness in the practice. You will have more notion of the nutritional intakes and so on, the nutrition. You will be more aware about that and so on. It will be really enriching for you. It can be art like painting, drawing, arts and crafts. It can be do-it-yourself. It can be music, new instruments, for instance. It can be theater. Theater, I really recommend it. I initially am shy, and I used to do a lot when I was a teenager, and it helped me a lot for, let's say, opening myself, for the notion of communication, for the notion of to feel self-confident, to be self-confident as well, to speak publicly, and so on and so forth. This is really good. So theater doesn't mean necessarily a drama like a Shakespeare or Molière or whatever. No, it can be a new theater, contemporary. For example, improvisation theater is a very good one to stimulate your creativity, okay? This is very funny because most of the time, as it is spontaneous, it's not really coherent, but it's not big deal, it's just for fun and so on. Also, I invite you to do association if you can afford. like going to retirement place, okay, to go to discuss with old people and just to give 1 hour per week or per month, you will feel also useful, which is very good for yourself. It's creating oxytocin. Oxytocin, one of the 4 hormones of happiness, okay? You can go for discussing with homeless just to give time and to pay attention to them. Can be to a hospital, or can be just an association regarding a cycle of discussion, and so on. This is, for me, really important. Another way is to meet new people. Okay, so here in Bali, with different cultures, different philosophy. Half of my friends are not spiritual, and I like that. Okay, why? Because this is, some of them, they are just for fun. We just have big fun, not necessarily a deep conversation. I don't mind. I appreciate them as they are, and this is always also a good moment and enriching. Different culture. I had this chance. That's why also I choose business. I had this chance to be here in Bali in a very cross-culture world. A lot of people are coming from different parts of the world. It was the same when I was in Shanghai, when I studied in London, in the UK. There was 125 different nationality. Then when I did my business school, it was in Spanish and English session. So of course, I had Mexicanos, I had people from Mexico, from people from Peru, from many places in the world. So it was really definitely with even some culture you don't necessarily very known, like Turkmenistan, like I don't know, from Botswana, or from wherever in the world, Kenya, and so on and so forth. So actually, this is definitely enlarging your perception. The absolute truth is the sum of the individual truth. Okay, so what does it mean? The Rubik's Cube, I show you, oh, it's red. You're gonna say to me, no, it's green. Who's right? Both of us. There is multi-face, so there is different. And life is like a kaleidoscope, a gigantic kaleidoscope. And every single people has a part of it. And that's why it's important to try to put all the pieces to admire the masterpiece, if you see the subtlety. Okay, so this is for me also very important to enlarge your perspective. It can be difficult to meet people. When I was in Paris, I had only 3 friends, maybe, maximum, and it was difficult. People are quite cold and so on. And, but there was some association, like the equivalent in English is yourbees.com. So, and if it doesn't exist, create it. What is it? It's association, it's for free. You have a topic like, okay, let's go to the cinema to watch this movie. And usually after the cinema, people go for a drink, or you go to an expo exhibition or a museum and so on. And it allows, it can be 5, 10 people, and people are just sharing at the end and can become friends, or even plus if you want. It's not speed dating stuff, of course, but it can be also. But yeah, and it's a natural way to meet people and from different types of origin, horizon, and so on, enlarging thereby your own perspectives. I invite you also in the techniques to capitalize, to visualize the, let's say, the positive aspect of hardships. Okay, hardships, difficulties that you had in your life. So I give you some personal example just to show that it's not fictive. Breakup. Okay, I had difficulty almost 2 years, but it was really challenging, and also it allows me to improve myself, because the goal, by visualize this positive aspect, first now I have a very amazing person with me, but this person was not matching for different reasons. She left me because she thought I will leave her in the future and so on. She was not really balanced at this moment. Okay, so fair enough. So, you know, when we say sometimes, oh, she or he left me and so on, it means that it was not the proper person at this time, at least. And if it is so, she is or he is so, he will or she will, like magnets, okay? We can make efforts and so on to improve, of course, but at least it's important to visualize what it brought me. Maybe now I have a certain detachment, even if I'm very committed, anything, but at least I improve myself through this experience. I've been fired when I was 30 years old, 4 days before, and for something not fair, according factually, because I was doing my results, my objective on my forecast and so on, so it was not fair. I didn't do any rude things. So anyway, it just kind of, I don't know, I don't want to enter in it, but just to say, thanks to that, I went to realize my dreams, that's to say to go to Asia. I handle things, I create my companies, then I create my holistic well-being center and so on and so far. So definitely it was a blessing. And I see it was painful, it was difficult, it was not fair, and I cried and so on. Well, yeah, okay, I discharged. But the goal is to visualize that difficult situation, a door is closed and another one open, okay? And sometimes on other perspective, larger horizon. That's the point. Okay, I invite you also to watch or to assist, to attend to debates of ideas. I like, since I'm a teenager, to watch political debates. Okay, just to see the way of communicating and also to see different ideas and to say plus. Positive, I mean, those who are more in favor and those I'm more against. But just to visualize that everybody has good ideas. Sometimes not necessarily you ring, okay, you can be left or right, and you can admit that some people have good ideas anyway. So that's the point. And actually to enlarge this perspective, this is what I recommend I do for my business course, especially negotiation, is empathy, is the capacity to project into the integrated system of someone. Okay, so there is a topic, okay, like a delicate topic, and the student have to list the advantage and the drawbacks, okay, and also to defend the contrary of the beliefs. Okay, you're against, I don't know, death penalty. You have to defend the arguments for in favor of death penalty. So it's a difficult exercise, but it's good, and can be on the other way around, of course, and there is different topics like this. But it is good for enlarging your perspective. Everybody thinks they are right, you know. This is just a question of perception, and for that it's good. Personally, I follow, for instance, some channels. They are completely against spirituality, and sometimes I say, oh, they are definitely right. I completely understand. Oh, I'm laughing sometimes because it's kind of ridiculous or it's kind of critical, but in a certain extent, for certain aspect, they're right. You see? So anyway, and for me, it's like embracing the word, the masterpiece, mastering the different pieces, if you see what I mean. A word to the wise. This is also another technique, is to the meditation of expansion of consciousness with open eyes and closed eyes, both. And you do regularly during the day. So for example, open eyes, okay, I see this focus point of the camera, okay, and I can enlarge my consciousness here and larger and larger. If I close my eyes, I can just visualize my body, okay, my subtle bodies, if I believe in it, and I can enlarge my perspective, my aura, to let's say the room, then to the house, then to the neighborhood, then to the district and so on, the country and the planet and so on. This is very good exercise to enlarge. Okay, so first anchor. It's very important to be grounded and to avoid to attract bad things and to have a kind of envelope to avoid, like a protection. But globally speaking, is to enlarge your perspectives. I invite you, as an advice as well, is to travel alone. I know it's a COVID period, maybe, but it will be not forever. But traveling alone, I had the chance to visit 66 countries. I choose business for that, by the way. So privately and professionally, a lot, always alone. okay, with my backpack, of course, and I meet so many people, and I was always connected. I was never alone, okay? Alone, all one, okay? You can see when you add another L. But concretely, and it was, I learned so much as an introspection, inner gazing on myself and so on. This is really initiatory. This is really the greatest practical exercise for me. According to me, this notion of traveling alone, you will discover new perspective, new horizon, new culture, new mindset, and so on so far. It's, I mean, for me, it's also a good way to be more open-minded, to be more tolerant according to life and so on, especially if you have preconceived idea. Some people, they don't like, for example, a culture, and they go in this country and they are completely astonished to meet welcoming people, very open-minded and so on. Okay, you know, another one is to do a Vipassana retreats. It's for free, it's 10 days. I invite you, it's inner gazing as well. I did 2 times in India, 10 days. Then you can do, actually it's up to you, you can do 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. It's for free, there is not a structure, they recommend a kind of schedule, you're not obliged to follow it. But it's a good way. Then I did several times 3 days in Sri Lanka, in Laos and so on. Laos. And anyway, just for you to inner gazing, okay, to work on yourself, your deep self, your true what I am, and so on and so forth. This is really excellent. The last one is dance, ecstatic dance, or what I baptize in 2004, 2005, trance and dance, transcendence, okay? What is it concretely? This is a concept, it exists officially, but in 2004, 2005, I was doing for myself. So it's like it's my own invention for myself. I didn't know it was existing. It's appeared maybe 2012, 2013, later on. Okay, but concretely, this is the ethnics dance and so on, because this is kind of you know, traditional. Okay, like you know, you can have in Asia, you can do religious stuff. You can have like folklore. You can have completely crazy movements, like a stupid movement, like grimace or this kind of thing. You can have, I don't know, you break the convention. The first rule is that there is no rule. This is completely based on spontaneity. So it can be hip hop, and then you switch to salsa, but you're not obliged to respect any types of steps. So this is really a spontaneous, intuitive approach. You just feel it. There is a music, most of the time is full of drums, and it's slow, it's rapid, it's slow, and speed, and so on. And actually, it's for you, and especially the notion is no objective, no results. You are not expecting any performance, any aesthetical dimension. You don't care, literally. It's for yourself. Okay, so you can do it for your physical activity every morning. 10 minutes, you can be sure that you will be happy, peaceful, and so on, because it's quite, you do 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you are completely exhausted, definitely. So, but it's beyond of that is, when we do here in our retreats, we do it blind, okay? You can just close your eyes. It's avoid that people observe, he's doing well, he's doing badly, and so on. You know, some people are like, you know, they're not really at ease. So, not a big deal. Do the robots, for instance. We don't care. And then, the robots is gonna start to move differently. And then, to be like with a grass, a certain femininity dimension and so on. And actually it stimulates basically your inner creativity, your inner artist. It brings you happiness, wholeness, fulfillments actually. And also the spontaneity of the movement without any kind of judgments. It's allows you to surrender, to let it go, to empty your mind, and empty, just to follow the flow of the music, to synchronize the music and your steps and the tempo and so on, and just literally to be connected, like finding back your deep you, Y-O-U, unity that you feel, and you feel the music and you don't know what's the music or what's the dance, and then it is only oneness. You reach the oneness, because after a while, after a few minutes, you're like, you can even observe the dancer dancing, because you're out of the dance. You're just one. And it's really, that's why I call it transcendence, because literally there is notion of you're in a trance. You are not in a normal, quote mark, consciousness. You are in an altered consciousness, and this is so good. Here in Bali, there is keys, there is grandpa, and so on. There is no alcohol, never, no drugs, and people are just naturally completely strange. It's so good. I swear to you, it's really natural. It reactivate also you cells memories. Okay, the remembrance, organic remembrance. Sometimes you will do, I don't know, like a movement of Kundalini, like Taurus, or the spiral of life. The spine will be activating your DNA. Everything will be stimulating your brain, your everything actually. That's why it's so great experience, because it's concretely is to be penetrated by the presence, the living one, a kind of godness, a kind of unity. You will understand, because you cannot understand just the theory. The most important, practice makes perfect. Okay, so you will understand, literally in quote mark, understand. You will find it back. You will find the point I try to mention it. It will be personal. It will be like feeling life, feeling the living, and literally dance life, dance life in general. This is the art of living. Ayurveda, the mystical or religious Hindu approach. Ayurveda means literally, normally, the art, the science of life, but the mystic call it the art of living, because everything in this perception, and this is the whole reason for being of the oldest videos, spirituality, openness, opening, the spiritus is everywhere, through everything and in everything. The living expresses itself, himself, ourselves, through us, and we intend to let it express himself through us. And this is really like a dance. Even this concept is a dance. And there is no I, there is more a higher self, and the I of consciousness. And then literally you're flotating. Well, I just invite you, you follow the flow and so on. There is exercise. I will show you some example of basics, but once again, there is nothing to learn, because it's not learning by heart, it's learning by your own heart. Okay, it's to follow your own heart, you follow your own spontaneity. Okay, this is the main objective. I mean, the objective is no objective also, so you understand. But this is just let it go and feel the flow of life and so on, the music and the music of life, the dance of life. This is the point. Some advice. I invite you to free up from failure, potential failure. Okay, how did you learn how to walk? You fall down, you wake up, you fall down, you wake up 2,000 times. So it's a part of the game as well. There is no shame for failing. This is not a big deal. We improve. This is resonance. This is resilience. This is really important to have this state of mind. So, and the state of mind, an advice is to be enthusiastic, literally crossed by divinity, godness, God. It's the fact to have a good positive mindset, and to be committed and to be invested in this process of enlarging your perspective. This is extremely important, to be convinced that enlarging your perspective is possible, to be convinced to the fact that we just explore a tiny part of our capacity of consciousness, of heart as well. And last also, know how to manage the social medias, because it is like a tool. I told you, it's like a knife you can kill, and you can also use as a tool, precious tool, but it is really important to manage, because the polarization of the society, the good ones, the bad ones, and so on, with the algorithm, they just suggest what we searched before, so it doesn't enlarge the perspective of anybody. And you're in a loop of people, they think the same, so you never evolve. You know, in a Greek philosophy, this is what we call dialectic. Dialectic is the fact, the connection of with other people allows you to enlarge your perspective. So for the good, for the bad, okay? And also because this is the fact to confront, even for negative aspect, but to know truly what you are, you need to experience what you are not. So everything is a question of perspective, experience, and learning. Life is an amazing experience, is the school of life, naturally and for everything. This is enlarging your perspective. Well, this is only one key amongst others for you to shape your master key to open up the doors of the consciousness and to enlarge the perspective that you want. As you know now, all the roads lead to Rome and to home and to the dome. Thank you for your attention and see you very soon.